Learn to create the life you deserve and desire with my Couch to Healthy 12-week wellness program. In this program, you'll learn how to create the mindset needed for better health, healthy eating habits, proper exercise using the slow, easy method to burn fat, and some of the best strategies to get and stay motivated. The program is now 50% off for a very limited time. Click on the link in the show notes to learn more. I'm going to guess that at one time or another in your life, you've run up against adversity, challenges, and even conflict, and it has left you both scared and scarred. How do you move past all of this to live a life of greater peace and joy? This is exactly what I am discussing today with my guest, possibility coach Victoria Rader, how to move beyond fear and being scared into a place of genuine peace and love. Moving past fear to love is where the magic of life really happens. And be sure and stay tuned all the way to the end for a special free offer.
Yeah, so as I was saying on the introduction there, I've got with me today Victoria Rader coming to us from just outside of Washington, D.C. So, Victoria, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Brad, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, and I'm really excited because one, you've got an incredible background in metaphysics and all that, which is right up my alley. But as we were chatting, before we started recording a little bit here, this idea of, and I pronounced it incorrectly, but from scared to scarred to sacred as a commitment, and this idea about surrendering to love. And I originally pronounced it scarred, but it was pronounced scared. So let's dive into that a little bit. What lead us through that? Like, what are some of the things you mean by that, from scarred to scared to sacred?
A while back, I had actually a client who came to me and she said, I just don't seem to be able to commit. Like, I'm so terrified of letting commitments down, or I get so overcommitted. And I wanted to give my typical encouraging spiel, with practical steps to commitment. But what came through me is become a gift, I think, for me. And it was that, wait a minute, you are already incredibly committed. You're just committed to your scared part. And
Ah,
this life is all about an invitation to recommit to the sacred part, you know? And it became this journey of, it's so true of all of us. There is not a human being on this planet, I don't care how successful they truly are, or they sell themselves to be, two different stories. But whatever that concept is, there is a part of them that is scared, that tells them, you don't need to get out of bed. I mean, nobody wants to hear what you have to say. And we have been trained to shut that part down, or to give in and do nothing, or to punish it, anything but one thing that I believe truly works, which is love it. Love it so fully and completely that, and this is where your brilliance comes in, that the open wound becomes a scar and then becomes whole, right? So I think it's magical.
so what do you mean exactly by the sacred part? Like we commit to the
Um,
scared part. I understand that. Like we all sometimes come from this place of fear is what I call it. But what do you mean by sacred? What is the sacred part of us?
yeah, I will use my language because that's the language I thrive through. But what I think everybody will recognize is their version of the truth, maybe in a new language. You know, um, all of my products, all of my company's products have this little branding of little m, a little m big E for me, Prosper Me book, Empower Dash Me app, everything has little m big E. And that me stands for the mortal part of who we are and yet eternal, for the matter part of who we are and yet energy, for the material part and yet essential, and for manifesting and yet expansive. So every time I now use the word me, I am me, it's a reminder that the scared mortal part of me that worries about the material world and the matter that will be manifested for me, that I need to take care of her. She does need to have clothes and she does need to have food, but not at the expense of the eternal essence and the energy that expands through me. So that fearful me is just our survival self, and that
Mm.
sacred me is our eternal self, however you call it, a part of you that is divine, or the energy that you are, or the higher self. The language becomes irrelevant to the fact that all of us are these two undeniable consistent parts, and we become one when the little m surrenders to the big E. So when I daily make a choice, how do I surrender this fear to the beautiful love for which I have come to overcome through? So that's the language that I use, but the principle of sacred self is that brilliant you that has always been, a part of you that is eternal energy, that is undeniably there, however you choose to describe it.
I think, yeah, now I get understand what you're saying. Yeah, I use different language, but I say like the voice of fear or the voice of love, the voice of my head, the voice of my heart, something like that, but very
Yeah.
similar. But you're right. A lot of us are trapped in the scared part of ourselves. And you kind of just briefly mentioned it, but let's go dive deeper into this. How do we transform or transition, whatever the word is, from that scared part to that whole part that we are, that loving part, that sacred part? Because so many
Yeah.
people are trapped in that scared part. And you're right, they are committed to that. And the more you commit to something, the stronger it gets, the more intense that energy, that vibration comes. So how can we as a society start to move away from the scared to the sacred, to from the
Yeah.
fear to the love, as I call it?
I'm going to share a story that kind of inspired this journey for me from when I was a child, because I think that'll create the neural receptors for us to see where I'm going. And then I want to give the actual practical steps, the daily application that all of us can do. So we'll take the metaphysical E and
Okay.
translate it to that little M so it gets it and it does it. So, I was 5. I actually was born in the former Soviet Union in Ukraine, sadly and tragically for my country. Everybody knows where it is now, for not so good reasons. But I was born in the Soviet Union, and the electricity back there is quite a bit higher, twice the amount that it is here in the US. And I was a 5-year-old kid and had this brilliant idea that to get a hanger for my doll's dress, I was going to pull a metal pin out of my hair and plug it into the socket to create a little hanger.
Oh
So
no. Oh, I can't imagine where this story is going.
always a creative, creatives that are hearing, not always good ideas, right? We follow through on everything, not always good.
Sometimes we learn the hard way, but go on.
Sometimes we have to be electrocuted. I mean, but in my case, I pulled the hairpin out and I stuck it in the electrical socket. Gratefully, what happened is the fuses blew, and I always say, and so did my grandpa was watching me. I got a, I mean, this is a fearful memory for me, not because of electrical shock that was avoided, but because of his reaction and putting together what could have been. But the reason I use that is because the concept there is that resistance saved my life. So the fuses blew because the power that was going into the fuses met the resistance of the fuses. And so resistance saved my life. Now, why is that important? Just like you have the electrical power coming to the house, and the different devices have different output. So the amount of energy to the house is the same through the electrical lines. The input is the same, but the output is determined by resistance of the device. So the little tiny light bulb in a fridge is very, very dim. But the brilliant, light that is supposed to be shining on the stage is very bright. So it is the resistance between the two that allows for the output. What is the parallel here? You, Brad, and I, and every single listener, we all have infinite access to the same amount of power. All of us. All of us. None of us are any more special than any of us. And so then, why is it that some of our light is brilliant and some is so suppressed.
That's a
The
great,
level,
yeah.
uh, that
So,
level of resistance within, level of resistance within.
and so what causes us to resist?
So I look at the resistance as four levels of formation. It could be formed through your upbringing. Before age 6 to 8, your brain is in a theta brainwave. Theta brainwave is a hypnosis wave. It is very programmable. So everything we see, we absorb as reality. So we see somebody hit somebody else and say, I hate you because I love you. And we are programmed. Love is violent. And then either we become a predator and we're violent, or we become a victim and we allow for violence in our life. Why? The resistance to the understanding of love was programmed. Now, metaphysically, there are three other levels. In addition to our upbringing, just like our eye color is genetic, our hair color is genetic, our emotional burdens can be genetic. You know, they've done studies where when in a family, a child was bit by a snake, and then for several generations, there was a phobia of snakes in the
Right.
family,
Uh-huh.
right? So there's a core level, which is your upbringing, that creates resistance through subconscious programs. There's genetics. You're born and you want to succeed, and yet your grandfather lost money every time he's made it. So in your deep subconscious psyche, there is a program. The more I succeed, the more I fail. And you're stuck in this circle.
Yeah.
And then the last two is common consciousness. All of us are sharing to different degree in a hysteria around us, either through pushing it or through overcoming it or through being suffocated by it. So it's the common consciousness resistance. For example, it has come to be believed that diabetes type 1 is incurable. I say why? Come to be believed because there hasn't been anything that has proven otherwise. But a child who is born with that disease is now programmed to believe they'll have to have it for the rest of their life. How tragic is that? And
Yeah.
finally, the fourth level of resistance is very unexpected, and that is when that powerful eternal part of you finds physical healing or physical thriving is irrelevant because it's just one lifetime. Why would I need to waste effort on it? So that's where the resistance is born on those four very different levels and is programmed into our subconscious mind.
And so with resistance, for those that don't understand this, what are some of the, how do I ask this, like the impacts on my health to resistance, like in terms of depression or stress or anxiety, things like that. This resistance, it builds up inside of me like literally a ball of energy, and if it's not released, then yeah, health issue becomes a major concern, depression, anxiety, all of that.
I love the word that you use, Brad, expressed, because actually that is the, in a nutshell, energetically speaking, I'm not a medical doctor, right? I cannot do anything in terms of diagnose, but energetically speaking, it'll be a big aha for all of us. What is not expressed becomes depressed. It's a law of physics. What is not expressed becomes depressed. So if we are not expressing our true nature because we have not been taught how, we become depressed about this tragedy.
Now, I know the answer to my next question, but I want to hear what you say. What is our true nature?
Oh, set up for love. I could,
There you go.
yes,
That's one word for it.
I
Love.
could say, yes, our true nature is love. I think whatever path of seeking you walk, eventually you arrive at that concept, and all of us define it differently, but the feeling is the same. For me, the acronym for love is life originating vibrant emotion or energy in motion. So it actually describes the four basic laws of creation for me. You know, the first one, energy is, it cannot be created nor destroyed, it just is. So life is, love is. And it's not passionate or romantic or lustful love. It's the energy that creates all of life and that nurtures all of life. So I think for me, it's very simple to discern whether I am being loving or not, or whether somebody's, if you're in an abusive situation, it's very simple to discern, is what a person doing adding to you feeling alive or subtracting? Doesn't matter what they say. Do you feel more alive or do you feel less alive? That's the indicator of love exchange.
Yeah. And it's you just said the key word there, feel. Do you feel alive or do you feel less alive? And some people will say when you feel alive, then you're operating from a place of your true nature. So we're saying the same thing, but yeah, speaking a little bit different language. So I often go to the question, who are you? Well, who am I? My true self is love. Love, I also use words like peace and truth and happiness and things like that. So many of us, though, we're stuck in this fear paradigm. And I often say that if everybody would just understand their true nature and operate from their true nature, we literally would have peace on earth, like instantly, like overnight. Like the situation in Ukraine would be no more. And for those listening, Ukraine is one of multiple conflicts going on in the world right now. Unfortunately, there are several in parts of Africa and whatnot. But we're stuck, like it's like our brains are operating and our soul is operating from feared, and people don't know anything else. So how do we move forward?
Well, it's fascinating because I look at peace, purpose, and prosperity
Right.
as a beautiful path. So with what we were saying there is that peace to me is awareness of love. I think you gain peace when you become aware of the love that you are and the love that is there for you from the source of life. And as you become aware of that love for you, you can lean into it and release anxiety from being anything or anyone that the world expects you to be, and just lean into that. As you lean into that, your purpose becomes clear, which is to live every day through love. That is the purpose for us. When you live that purpose, a purpose for you, what to do professionally becomes clear, not before. People are anxious because they say, I've been born for something greater, I can't find it. And I say, you're looking in the wrong place. Look into, I'm so full of love for me and through me. Who can I share it with next? And you're smiling because clearly this is sounds like one of the truths that you tap into all the
Well,
time.
it's funny because, I get asked the question all the time, well, what's my purpose? Or, you work with clients, I work with clients that, I just want to know my purpose. And what you just said is what I've been saying for the last 2 years. Our purpose is love, and to be loved, to share love. And everybody always wants to know, well, or they think that their purpose is something that they do, a particular job or occupation or hobby or passion. And I try to tell people that's not your purpose. Your purpose is to be your true nature, as you say, be who you are. And then the doing part will kind of be the byproduct of that. So I call the doing part your calling in life, your mission in life. Like your calling in life, clearly, Victoria, is as a leader and a healer and a teacher and a motivational speaker and all that. And my path is similar. But for anyone listening, yeah, this path from, I call it from fear to faith or from fear to love, is to choose love, is to be love. I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
think, Victoria?
Well, and so, to kind of go down that path is the awareness of love becomes peace, and then sharing that love becomes your purpose, becomes more and more clear. And when it brings into the path of consistency, then prosperity is a natural consequence of that.
Yes.
And
Okay. You say consequence. I say byproduct, but same
but
thing.
I said, yeah, same thing. And so then you look at that and you say, okay, but right now, what do I do right now? Because I'm in a complete survival mode. So interestingly enough, you cannot become aware of love if you're in a state of panic. Biologically, you cannot be aware of it. So why? When we're fearful, an interesting process happens in our body. When we're fearful, our body goes into the stress response and our blood goes away from our brain and from our internal organs, from our heart, from our ability to experience love, and it goes into our extremities. We've heard fight or flight. It's actually literal. It goes into our hands so we can fight and defend our life, or it goes into our feet so we can flee. So it's fight or flight. If there is a balance between the two, if the blood didn't go into top or bottom, it froze. So there's also a freeze response. So if you are fearful of something, you do not have enough blood in your brain to make a choice to love. It's very important. You do not have enough capacity in your brain. And so at that point, your one way out is to get yourself out of a shock response. Now, there are many different right ways to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. You have to find what works for you. What I find works amazingly for me is a simple tapping under your eye without doing the full EFT tapping, just tapping under your eye and saying, I'm terrified. I can't breathe. Panic, 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 panic. And you tap under your eye on anxious, panic, fearful, those three, until your body breaks for the breath. When your body breaks for breath, you got oxygen. Oxygen means a little bit more blood went into your organs. You're not quite at a point yet to be making a choice. But now we've tapped. There was a break for breath. Now I can make 6 breaths. You breathe in and you breathe out longer than you were breathing in. And on that first breathing out, you put your hand on the heart, the second on the solar plexus. So breathing out longer. Second, in and breathing out longer. Now you're going to do 6 of those just after 2. Now we're grounding into our body. Just after 2, you'll start feeling warmth under your hands.
Much more relaxed too. Peace, calm.
Once you do 6, once you've done 6, then and only then, you can tell yourself, I am light, I am love, which is your top heart, and I am light, which is your solar plexus. I am love, I'm light, I got this. Show me how. I'm love, I'm light, I got this. Show me how. And you wait for a solution idea that comes to your mind, and then you implement it.
Yeah, wait for the solution to come to you. Just very quickly, we'll get to your website here in a minute, Victoria. But for anyone interested more in EFT, which if I get this correct, it's emotional freedom technique. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The tapping. I'll put a link to Victoria's website in the show notes, and you can go there and learn more about EFT and this breathing, the hand over the heart and the abdomen area. To get some more information about that. That is great for calming and peace. And as you said, allowing more blood to flow to the organs so that you can get to that state where I am love and all of that. We're quickly running out of time here. And I got like another 2-3 hours of things I want to go over with you. On your webpage, you talk about this idea of this pathway to success. And you talk about, peace and joy and purpose and all of that. What do you mean by pathway to success? Like what is success? And is this kind of what you're talking about, switching from this, resistance to this true nature of love? Is that how we get on that pathway or?
I think that is how you start. And, in one of my latest books, in Prosper Me, one of the laws of genuine prosperity, and prosperity isn't money, it's thriving in all levels of your life. I talk about the law of growth. And in the law of growth, I kind of give the formula of growth. Because if you're not growing, you're dying, period. There's no status quo in life. So we want to choose to grow, right? So the formula for growth is, to me, the formula for success, which is your mindset multiplied by your skill set, multiplied by your effort equals result. Now, if you're a person of faith or belief, I like to add God, great overall designer, to the left side. So I'm going to have, and then the right side will be infinite results. But however your map of the world operates, when you look at those 3, your mindset, your skill set, and your effort, most of us lean towards one of the 3 quite a bit more. And so we do more of the one we're comfortable with. Like there are these conference junkies that go from seminar to seminar to seminar,
Hey,
from
now,
podcast,
that's
from
me.
pod,
Go
from
easy on
podcast.
us.
I mean, and it's like, and
Yeah,
it's fantastic. The mindset is thriving. But it's like, well, the bank is not. I'm like, why don't you learn the marketing? I mean, it's not an evil thing, you know?
skill
So
part. Yeah.
right, but there's some of us that are into skill sets. So there is a degree, a certification, a recognition, you know. And I can laugh at all three because I'm all three, right? I'm like, what I can be addicted to right now, right? So, and then the third one is effort, which is you continually try new things. So if you find yourself being stuck, it's then very easy to say, wait a minute, I'm doing all I know how to be doing. So which one of these three I can shift by one tiny degree, because that'll offset my results tremendously. So yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. I like to tell everyone, if you're looking towards transformation to better your life, I say better your health, more energy, lasting happiness. You just hit it on the head. You need those three things. You need the mindset, and of course, you need the skill set to go with it. And then the last one, which most people lack on, I would say a lot of people have mindset or skill set, one or the other or both, but they don't have that third one. You said that effort, which is what you mentioned in the beginning about the commitment. People are committed to their fear, they're not committed to their growth.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I fell into that trap for a long time. I was committed to going to seminars, but I wasn't committed to implementing what I learned at the seminar. So I became one of those seminar junkies for a while. So, well, Victoria, tell us about your webpage and your books and anything, and how can someone get a hold of you, and what are some of the programs that you offer?
I think, because of the abundance of offering, I always try to tune in to hear now and hopefully speak into the heart of somebody who's listening for the one thing. And I believe the thing that is most aligned with our conversation is we have a free meditation it's just 6 minutes that allows for you to tune in and to shift from scared to sacred self. I believe that's just a beautiful gift that's very aligned with our conversation. The website for that is choosesacred.me. Now we know why it's me, but it's choosesacred.me. And so if you go to that site, you can get your free meditation. And I believe that's probably the most beautiful gift I would offer at this point. And then another product that is most aligned is we have an app that's called Empower-Me app. And it's available on all platforms, where apps are. Um, and we didn't talk much about SCARD, and this is where my heart wants to go to. That little app is amazing. It has daily 3-minute meditations. It has money laws. It's incredible value. But one of the subsets there, it has 99 aspects of grief. And
Mm.
I think a lot of us confuse fear with grieving, because grief that is not processed will appear as blocking fear. So what I found is that the way that subset is, the app is built intuitively. You choose my grief, you shake then the app gives you which grief emotion out of 99 you're to process. It gives you one paragraph of visualization. All of these have been tried with hundreds and thousands of my clients and neuro-linguistic visualizations to relieve that aspect. And then it gives you the hand to heart affirmation to anchor a healed part of you. So I believe those two are most aligned for our conversation.
I would agree. And can this be used for someone dealing with like PTSD or some sort of trauma or depression,
Yes.
or someone
I'm
trying to get?
so glad you've asked. Brad, listen, I'm so grateful and glad you have asked. I'll tell you why. For any man out there who's listening, and I'll get emotional, okay? I have a daughter and a son.
Okay.
I know that it takes an incredible man to seek help, and I know very few do. On our YouTube channel, we find that 60% of viewers in the privacy of their home that are seeking PTSD release are men.
Mhm.
Those men that will never go see a counselor necessarily, that are not quite ready yet to hire Brad as a coach, which you guys, if you're listening, you should. I can tell you, I'm talking to a man of incredible power, Brad. Just sorry to embarrass you, but that's just it. So if you're a man listening to me, trust me. You can listen to 100 of my podcasts. I don't do this on other people's podcasts. I don't. I'm doing it here. So but what we're going to add to the Empower Me app will be tapping sequences, which will be just 3 to 5 minutes to release fear, to release anger, to release overwhelm, to release anxiety, so that those that are not ready, that are too fearful to seek help, can get themselves to a point of looking for a coach. So that'll be a part of the app. The price will not, it's about $20 a year, is all it is. We're not looking to increase price as we add value. Our goal is to keep adding value.
Yeah, boy, you hit on a good top issue near and dear to my heart with men and men's health because yeah, men we don't talk about that a lot. We're supposed to put up this wall of machismo and toughness and cool, and it doesn't work that way, and we wind up resisting, keeping it all inside, and then we have that the stress, anxiety, and all of that. Very quickly, I also want to go back. You mentioned, so I did mention the word scarred in the beginning, and we haven't got into that a little bit. What can you tell us about scarred, like on our heart or?
Yeah, I think that's very important to understand that having a scar is a natural process of healing.
It is.
And and so when you have an open, this is what I tell everybody. There is time in your life when you need a psychiatrist or psychologist. That is when you have an open wound. And there's a time in your life when you need a coach. That is when the wound now has a scar. And I think a lot of people do not gain in life what they're seeking because they are seeking help in a wrong place. So only you know. If you're still talking about the wound, if the wound is preventing you from functioning, you probably need mental health advocate. But if you say, I am functional and I'm so tired of it having stopped me up till now, sky's the limit, that is when you hire a coach. So I think that scarring point is a gorgeous indicator of your healing and empowerment journey so that you and only you can decide who you need as an advocate on your team for empowerment.
Yeah. And I kind of like to summarize that by saying, trust your higher voice, your intuition, what it's telling you in that moment. Victoria, this has been incredible. I could literally sit down with coffee for 2 or 3 hours with you and just talk back and forth about all of this stuff. Unfortunately, we do need to wrap the show up. But before I do that, is there anything else that you would like to say about anything that you haven't said already? Any final closing comments or anything?
Yes, I can't stop grinning because you just said trust your intuition, and my sixth book is coming out tomorrow where I'm a collaborator. It's called Trust Your Intuition. It's Wickedly Smart Women. Trust Your Intuition. All proceeds go to charity to help children that are disadvantaged to play. So trust your intuition if you want to learn how. Get this charity book. So thank you, Brad, once again for being so intuitive.
You're welcome. Just yeah, try to just come from the heart when I do the podcast and just go with the flow. And sometimes it goes in a logical order, and sometimes it goes in a random order. But we both paths get us to the end of the show. There are many paths. I was just talking about this on another talk I was doing earlier. There are always many paths, but only like one house or something like that. That you're going to. So. Well, Victoria, thank you very much for being here today and sharing your insight and wisdom with us. I have truly appreciated it. I feel very like peace, just in your energy and being here and a sense of calmness, even though it's virtual and video, I can still sense that peace and that calmness about you. So, and blessed to your native country of Ukraine and our hearts and prayers, always with them. That I have some friends in Ukraine now, as well as some friends who made it to the United States from Ukraine. So my heart definitely goes out to
Thank
them.
you.
Yeah, and for anyone listening, I will definitely put a link to everything we've talked about in the show notes to choosesacred.me and the app Empowered Me. And for anyone listening, I also like to say thank you and give away a free health plan. So if you DM me the word for today's episode is love, our true self, our highest calling, who we are, love, to be loved, to share love with everyone, everything. So DM me the word love, and I will give to you free my Walking for Health wellness program. It's got several $1,000s worth of research invested into it. It is the plan that I use to this day to maintain my health, my eating, my all of that. People ask me, what do I do? It's this program, Walking for Health. I put it in a program for you. So DM me the word love, and I will send that to you. And again, if you are listening to this podcast, I definitely appreciate that. Please, wherever you listen to podcasts, hit that subscribe button and leave me a 5-star review. And again, Victoria, thank you for being here. And to all the listeners, thank you. And until next time, be well, be safe, be happy, eat ice cream. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.